Hello, welcome to Tabletop for December 2nd, 2017. It is, of course, episode 56. I hope everyone's having a great Saturday, great end already, great day. We're going to be diving into an exciting of things on our docket to talk about today. So why don't we dive right into that? Of course, joining us as usual is Joe and Wyrm. Anyway, on the docket, we first have Explorers of Ixalan, which is an interesting thing because it's Magic the Gathering meets a board game. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit as they're kind of experimenting with some new things. Then there's a couple of Pathfinder products I want to talk about. I want to talk about Taldor because they're taking one of their countries. And they're including information for not only playing it in the sort of rotation modern time of Pathfinder, but information that you could play back in the past, basically. So that was an interesting dynamic I wanted to make about a little bit. I also want to talk about that they have a new pawn box, Traps and Treasures, because we talked about the bestiary stuff, and this is like things that I talk about a little bit because it's like crate sparrow, all that kind of crap through. Then I discussed the Awakening RPG a little bit. That was a successfully kickstarted RPG, which is out now. And then two board games: the Game of Thrones Catan board game, where Thrones meets Settlers of Catan, and Legacy of Dragonholt, because it's like not quite a board game, not RPG, something else. It's its own interesting narrative sort of thing that I want to discuss because. Is it a genre we know about of games, or is it something different? Then, of course, finish up with our week in gaming, our Kickstarter Corner, and ask where you can ask us any questions about any of these or more. Why don't we dive into the...
One day we'll actually get a question.
We have people that have claimed that they will ask us questions, which is better than what I got my first
All
questions.
lies.
Hey, it's just a shorter show if no one asks a question.
Yep.
Okay, so, why don't we dive to the first one, Explorers of Ixalan. So it's a multiplayer Magic experience. It's out of the box. You have decks, which are pre-made, basically taking on the four groups that exist in the Ixalan storyline. But then tiles. Like a little island you build and explore. And unfortunately, I've only skimmed over some of the rules for this one, so it's a very different kind of game, I would say. Interesting difference.
When I was looking into the Ixalan, I ran into a very amusing blog review type thing where it's just like the pieces are hexagonal, not it's like but doesn't that seem familiar? And it just links. It just has a link as doesn't that seem familiar? If you click on it, it shows Catan.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like
The tiles look very similar.
Yeah, as soon as I saw it, I did kind of get that idea of this kind of looks Catan-y. A little bit, but I guess
Settlers of Ixalan.
Like the style is very Catan, which is it's I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, it's just a style. At the same time, it is kind of like I can see why. It's something to poke fun at least.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, you claim tiles for immediate effects, for quest rewards and completion, for sites that grant you continuous effects. So it's sort of like you're both playing a game of Magic the Gathering and a board game at the same time where you're resource managing to a degree, but you're using... Your resource management is your land, your mana in Magic, except you're switching it between using your deck and doing stuff on the board. An interesting juxtaposition from our normal resource management, because it's technically you have a single source. So I think that's one of those strange things about it that I look at this here and I'm like, okay... And you're supposed to claim and control, the Lost City. I guess it's their version of the Lost City of Gold, or El Dorado,
Yeah. So basically, you're paying colorless flip the tiles.
Well, it might be. Some of them might actually be colored. I don't know. I haven't got like a really, really good look at a lot of the tiles because none of the pictures really show them very up close. Like, they have one that has a 6 on it in some of the pictures that's the close-up, and I'm like, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. I'll be honest, like, it does win over my head because I'm not a big person, but what this kind of reminds me of is how they have those D&D board games, one of which we talked about a couple weeks ago. Yeah. With the whole, like, Tomb of Annihilation game. Mm-hmm. Kind of feels like taking one of their products and board gaming it. Which isn't a bad thing. I feel like Wizards of the Coast did a good job doing that.
Yeah, I agree. It's an interesting take on things, and I looking at a person who also looks a lot. Very interesting deck lists too. A collection of them that I was like, I would not have seen them using some of these, but they are. Things like Plain Thiever, Time Warp, and Warp X. It's like, wow. Really, you're going out of the box than what I thought you were going to do. Now,
hey, everyone loves to do the Time Warp again.
I know. But regardless, I think it's very, beyond it being very interesting deck lists, which again, that's one of those things about a Magic product that I kind of, when I see it, I'm like, that's the first thing I kind of think about it. It's the fact that they are trying something different. Is this the perfect kind of mixture game and Magic? I don't know. Can they do something different? I mean, they're taking their storyline and coming in a product that's appropriate to it. So I give them that chops. Since there is, like, in their story, there's this quest for this lost. Okay. Now you're doing it in game form, and with 1 to 4, with I guess 2 to 4 players technically, taking on some of the roles of the factions that would be doing this. So that's neat.
Yeah, I mean, looks really interesting. I would try it. At the very least, you're getting some cool cards.
Well, that's accurate.
Now, even if you ended up hating the game, you could just like, I'm gonna use these then.
And it's not the best price, but it's $65, which
that's the one thing I saw, which is it's kind of expensive. I've seen it a bit
cheaper at Walmart though.
Yeah.
I think it was like $50 at Walmart.
So that might be just the original price, like one of the original pricing things, and they might have changed it a little bit or something. I don't know. Yeah, 50.
That's the thing I found about Wizards of the Coast is they're in stores. They're like personal stores are always super expensive, but whenever you buy them from anywhere else, they're like half price or less. You know, they're like between like like 3/4 to half the price. It's
like Magic.
It's weird.
Magic packs retail at $4. If you're buying a Magic pack for $4, you're spending too much. You know, there are places that you can retail for less. Granted, normally like getting something for $3.50, between $3 and $3.50 is probably the best, unless you're buying in bulk, i.e. a box, which then you can really save the money on. But still, but I mean, if this is an interesting thing, I would say, would this be a great way to get people into Magic? Probably not, but if you are a Magic player and want to try something a little different, sure.
Example, it's $40 on Amazon.
Of course it is.
Yeah. A lot better price.
Yeah, Amazon has
a lot better.
Amazon has had some ridiculous prices, I've noticed, for some of their Magic stuff.
Well, Amazon, I guarantee you Amazon has some sort of deal with Wizards because they've done all of their stuff like 2/3 of the price.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
they gotta have some sort of deal.
Well, probably they buy big enough bulk from them that it's like, yeah, here's a really good discount.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Because there was not quite that. It was like an $88 box I saw on there. I was looking around, and I was like, wow, that's not quite that $75, but that's better than I ever see in a store.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing you got to think about is, you know, if you don't have a gaming store near you, Amazon's probably the best place to get most of your gaming stuff.
Yeah.
So,
no,
you know, they probably can buy it big enough bulk because they know they're going to sell it because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And And the only thing I can say about this entire setup is you probably, depending on how the rules work, could build your own 4 decks and play with the board too. I mean, that's always an option. Bring your own thing to the table.
That's what I was wondering, is if that was an option.
Yeah, if you could modify
that would
stuff.
definitely make it more interesting, because it almost would just almost. It's kind of like, if at that point, if you can add your own decks and play with your own decks, it basically just becomes a new game mode.
Yeah.
A new way to play the game, which is, if that's what they did, that's actually really nice. I mean, that's always something again, I don't really play Magic, but if you think about like a video game, it's like, League of Legends, it's like, well, you have ARAM, you have, the standard, you have the 3v3, it's like you have these different options if you kind of just want to mix things up a little bit. They're still all basically the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's just different way.
I just wanted to throw this in there. The lands are really cool artwork. If you go to Wizards' site, I'll put the link in the chat. You can see a sample hand of the different decks, and the artwork on the lands are amazing.
Oh.
So it might be worth it even just for that.
That's the thing, is that looks a lot like I've seen those lands before. Gatherer, where are you? I know I have a link to the Gatherer. I don't. Wow. That's the one thing I didn't link in my favorites. Gatherer.
Well, I probably would have lost if that was the real thing, because it took me like 3 draws. As it says deal a hand, it took me 3 draws to get land.
That land is technically not from that. It's the latest land that came out. Those are unstable lands.
Oh, okay. Well, they're awesome looking.
I know. I thought that's what I've seen them before when I was like looking through some stuff. For some reason, they've made their. The thing is, like, they always seem to make their like joke sets with really awesome looking art for lands, and I don't know why. Whatever. It's like, I guess, another appeal for like, look, if you buy this, you also get this really, really cool thing. Totally,
it's like you can't play these cards anywhere else, but
hey, there's some lands that you could totally play with, and you can have the coolest lands on the block. At very least, I feel you probably could modify these decks. If there are certain aspects of the deck that needs to stay the same, maybe color or something will work best with that. Maybe you can modify it. I would definitely have to take a look at how things are set up, but I get the feeling that probably you could basically just use the setup with everybody grabs their own deck kind of thing, rather than just use theirs. So.
I mean, the one thing is, it seems that every deck has a number of uncolored. I don't know if that's normal, but
they usually do.
Yeah, that's normally artifacts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Damien. Welcome. Hi.
Yeah. So I'm not seeing any of the card lists that there's anything specifically that they came out for the game. Mm-hmm. So I don't see why you couldn't play with any a different deck.
Yeah, because it doesn't seem to be anything that's not that there's no new. There's some reprints that weren't in Explorers of Ixalan or Ixalan itself that I'm seeing with the Ixalan symbol, and I'm wondering if they actually just now have a whole bunch with the Ixalan symbol that are different. The collector in me is very curious now, kind of thing. So, but anyway.
Yeah. Looks like a cool game, though.
Yeah. It's maybe something a little different from Magic if you want to try out something a little different.
To me, it's kind of like almost the Planeswalker, not Planeswalker, Plane Shift. It's a different game mode.
True. All right, why don't we move on, though, because I do want to get to some Pathfinder. Let's start. I want to talk about Taldor, because this is a very, very interesting thing from when you read through the stuff that they talk about it. It is a old nation in their setup, but they do talk about facing Taldor from different aspects, because if you're using it in modern Galarian, it's kind of at its shadow, it's at its dusk. The Empire is mostly fallen, there's not a lot of it, but they talk about either exploring old ruins related to it, or setting yourself up in Taldor, even during some of their history, which I think you always sort of could, I guess, in Pathfinder, but I never really see them talking a lot about it,
Right.
And that's one of those things about it that I find very interesting. about this latest thing. Do it. Is that just to get a little bit more breath? I mean, which I mean is not a bad thing, but or is it just something they just never, the unspoken kind of rule about it kind of thing,
Right.
That's my question, which I guess Paizo's not answering because they're Paizo. But still, I mean, it provides a good amount of options and stuff. And, again, if you just want to explore ruins, that's cool. Or on the other hand, if you want to get, as usual, if you want to get into a political game, it definitely has openings for that.
The one thing that I found a little bit interesting is, while it's only one review, and obviously that's not a very good sampling, it's the one person who reviewed it and gave it 1 star and kind of gave this actually full review kind of thing, saying how it's actually a bit underwhelming.
Oh, that's an interesting thing. Oh, I can see that they did that. Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
But then again, isn't it not out yet? Oh no, yeah, it's not out yet. Is it?
I think they said that it was released, so maybe they either haven't updated it or they were talking about their release for this week. Because
it says PDF. It says PDF available December 13th. Maybe it's like you can buy the print.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, you might get the print early or something.
That's the thing is Paizo's site is impossible to tell exact release dates, so I always have to judge from when there's this is something we're coming out with now. It's okay, is that now or is that a couple days from now? You don't usually provide links like this unless it's fairly now. But again, it's Paizo. They never talk straight out of their mouths.
When will that be now?
When will then be now? That's now. That's now. That's then. Wait.
Spaceballs reference.
I made it weirder.
I'm working.
Yes.
Sorry.
Right.
That wasn't mute. That was something else. Oh well, you heard that.
Uh-huh.
But that was a Spaceballs reference.
Yeah.
When will then be now? Well, right now it's now.
Yep. No, yeah. Looking back at where it's they're new Pathfinder campaign setting release. They say that in their store blog. So anyway, so there has been a single review which the person disliked it, but they actually reviewed it quite well.
Yeah, right.
It's some brief description of key locales for adventuring, 1-page description, details on major NPCs description, which is enough to build an NPC. Okay, so adventures, at least I feel yeah, sure, we're providing that. The monsters, I guess it's related to the new adventure path, which is going to be set in Taldor. So they're right off, the Gazetteer and the life and the, I guess, history just aren't as good as you want to, even with 68 pages. So it's...
Yeah, it's definitely a pre-order thing, though, so I don't know how this guy would have been able to review it if...
Unless it's sort of... Well, they also are terrible at updating things, I've noticed, so we can, leave that.
That's fair.
I did find on one of their... somewhere on their site at one time, they had a list of upcoming products, and I was checking it, in May, and they're it's upcoming in April. I'm
yeah. I mean, that's totally fair. Because it's not very clear. It really isn't. I was trying to figure it out.
No, they unfortunately, Paizo is terrible when it comes to clearness in their site.
To be fair, have you seen how much stuff is on their site?
Insane.
Yes.
That's one of the problems. That's why I don't even try to, unfortunately, those of you guys out there that like third-party stuff for Pathfinder that I don't dive into, it's because it's confusing as all heck, and I don't know, there's a crap ton of companies. So granted, I could probably go to each company individual, which I might do at some point in time, but other than that, there's no
that's
way
what you have to do.
That's no way to weed through it using their actual Pathfinder site, because they occasionally talk about their third party and stuff, but still. Ugh. So yeah, so apparently they are coming out with an adventure path set in Taldor, so maybe you want to do it. War for the Crown It's more February, so it is a ways off before the first adventure in it comes out. They're finishing up the current one. And as the person said, it has been like 8 years since there was anything really put out for Taldor. Any material was really given on it. So it's like, we've had 8 years since we've explored it. Is there a lot new? Maybe that's the problem. That a lot of this 68 pages is just not as many details as might be good for, you know, the amount of time that's passed.
Right.
But
and also, every time you say Taldor, I think Trogdor.
Trogdor!
Burninating the countryside, burninating the peasants. Anyway, okay. I could keep going on that.
Trogdor!
Yeah.
It's nice to know other people who have heard of Homestar Runner. Not everyone has. It kind of surprises me. Kind of forget.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of interesting.
It's one of the few websites my dad allowed me to go on when I was a kid.
Hey, look, everyone loves the cheat commandos. Rock on.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on though. Now that we're getting old internet references out of the way, Pathfinder Pawn Box. So it's another pawn box, but it's traps and treasures. They call it traps and treasures, but if you look at what's actually in it, it's junk. Not that that's a bad thing to have junk, but it's got, like, you have 4 barrel pawns. All right? The only thing I could see for a lot of these things is, like, if you're building a room and you're like, these things stand out. Like, here's some barrels over here. Here's a crate over here. Here's this over here that maybe you want to check out. You know.
So I actually like this, and here's why. Because it gives the players something to do RP-wise without the GM having to describe the entire room, detail for detail.
Yes.
Like, you go, oh, okay, is that like a bookshelf? Yeah, that's a bookshelf. Okay, I'm gonna push it in front of the door to block monsters from coming in while we short rest, or, you know, or probably rest or whatever. You know, it's kind of, and, oh, okay, also you can place down a tile. Oh, yeah, you notice there's a trap right here, you know, what are you trying to do? I don't find it all that bad. It's kind of nice to have these extra things.
No, I agree with you completely. Granted, it's like, it's an interesting collection of stuff. So some of it, like pits and sinkholes and lava, there you just notice them, you put them on there, maybe boulder, stuff like that. Some of them are very, you know, trap related that you can put down on your map. Others are very simplistic, and I like that, like a cabinet or, you know, a desk that's cluttered, you know. So it has a wide variety, and I do like that too. So it's like, oh, I can go over and search the desk, or I can, you know, check this area for traps, and you could place down the pit exactly where it's at, you know, or something like that. So there definitely is an interesting use. Oh, and the treasure hoard piles. I mean, that's always a classic, you know. It's like,
who doesn't love a good treasure hoard?
I know.
The GM who's trying to tell the players, oh yeah, you get 100 gold. Wait, but it's a treasure pile. Oh right.
It's like 15 gold and like this much silver and this much copper. It's 100 gold.
A treasure pile full of 1,000 copper.
I know.
Yeah. Trying to explain loot to player, or trying to get balanced loot with players.
What was it? It was in Curse of Strahd, the pile of gold that was really wooden coins that did have a value. I don't think anyone took it.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I know.
It was one of the piles, though.
Yeah.
The other piles actually had gold.
Yeah. We used those wooden coins.
Yeah, they did. They stole them.
We used them as firewood.
Because it's cold there. They're like, we're going to burn these. Stay warm while we're resting. I think they filled the coffin full of wooden coins and stole it.
Yes, we took the wooden coffin, filled it with wooden coins, and made a fire with it. Because why not?
Exactly. Why not? So, I mean, these are definitely things that I would agree you never see really in plastic or metal. So, and of all the pawn boxes, like, as we've said, like, you know, I think you're really for the Wyrm. I'm always sort of like, you know, a little bit neutral about them. I think they're really good as long as, you know, that's what you can get. I definitely have my preferences, but I think this one is actually one of those ones I would say, like, yeah, oh my god, thank you. Yes. I want a bakery note for half off bread. Man, that's actually like a reward I would be good for in the D&D game. It's like, awesome bread.
Now, is it elven bread?
Okay, I'm doing this at some point.
like a note for like half off bread somewhere, or like a meal, free meals, or like unlimited ale at the bar.
Red Dragon Inn.
Yeah. But anyway, but no, as I was saying, like, I think this is one that I would definitely recommend actually getting. Granted, it's 25 for 100 pawns. Again, like, it's the same that this one's pretty good at keeping that around the actual price. You might be able to find it like Amazon cheaper, because Amazon you can find everything cheaper, usually.
Are you cheaper on Amazon?
Only on a Tuesday, and only for 27 minutes. And I'm not telling you when those 27 minutes are.
Damn you!
You don't even know if they're clumped together or spread out throughout the day on Tuesday, too.
It's actually for like 1 second.
At a time? Yeah, just
at
spread
a time,
out.
spread throughout the day.
Yeah. Anyway, so no, yeah, I would definitely recommend checking this one out if you like a lot of, like, actual boards, you like a lot of miniatures, whether you're getting the pawns or not. This is actually a pretty cool one to get, whether, you know, you're using plastic miniatures or not. So I might consider, this is like one of the ones that, like, I personally would consider getting, just because I have a pile of D&D miniatures technically. You can't see them because that board game pile over there is on top of them, behind
you
me.
and D&D miniatures? Never.
Yeah, there's a couple of, like, old paper boxes filled with D&D miniatures down there that are, you know, or, you know, that I use for a lot of games. So I never usually have to use a word about pawn boxes, and I'm usually just like, you know, we could use this skeleton for this undead, or this thing for this character. You know, I'm very good at that. But this...
I have pawn boxes and miniatures.
Ooh.
Ooh, on Sweet Special.
We have a friend who got all those pawn boxes, though, too. He got billions of them.
Combo.
Actually, no, I don't have pawn boxes. I have, map tiles. Sorry. I'm okay with pawns. I just, honestly, I have a bunch of, like, things from HeroScape, and I might as well, so I'm just like...
Well, that's what I got for the D&D miniatures. I'm like, might as well. They're actually decent quality miniatures. But no, I got a bunch of tiles, too, somewhere that I've used.
HeroScape, the only thing I hate Wizards of the Coast for.
I'm pretty sure...
Not for the game itself, but for the fact that they killed the game.
I'm pretty sure I hate them for a number of things. Like, there's a couple of, like, other games and stuff that they've squandered that they could have done stuff with even years later from when they had the chance of it. Like, they killed off Spellfire, and it was different enough of a game that I felt like in a decade they could have revisited it. And now it's like 20 years or something, you know?
Well, they kind of did now.
Not really. I mean, you never get the same game. It was another collectible card game.
It's not the same, but they came back out with the D&D card game we talked about last week, which we have tried now.
Yes, but it's not the same thing, but still.
No.
Anyway, so yeah, the pawn box is, of course, again, it's one of those ones that's available yet not available in Pathfinder's universe. So...
I'm unavailably available.
I know, really. You can pre-order it for expected in December for print edition. What? What does that even mean?
Probably after December 13th or within that week when the PDF is released.
I don't know, because they love to say on their site it's a new release again. You know, it's their store blog is like, this is our new release, get it now. And then it's like, pre-order it. It's like, what? I thought I was getting this now.
Get it now with a pre-order.
Yeah, really. God. Anyway, why don't we move on, though, to Awakening? I do want to talk about this new RPG that it was indeed a Kickstarter. It successfully got funded and has been released now. Let me see there was another page of information I wanted to look at when talking about.
You mean Awaken, right? It's not Awakening.
It's Awaken.
Dang it!
Awaken.
Yeah, it's Awaken.
Yeah, it's Awaken. I'm trying to call it something different because I'm that way. I'm bad at I'm good at doing that.
Yes, you and your grand pricks.
In my grammar. Yes.
Character sheet is really interesting.
Okay,
Dark fantasy.
Yeah.
Haven't heard dark fantasy role-playing game. Haven't heard that before. Changeling.
All right, so granted, it is dark fantasy. We'll
Just
give
kidding.
you that one, but it is more actual fantasy section. I think Changeling usually goes to a modern world. Yeah.
Kind of, yeah, but it's I don't know. I just wanted. It's like I don't know. When I see it called like dark fantasy, I like that's almost the same thing. Like Changeling calls themselves like a dark kind of like. Well, they say like dark modern fantasy. Yeah. Probably.
Yeah. So it's set in a dark, war-ravaged fantasy world influenced by Slavic and Mediterranean folklore, where basically forgotten myths and mythology have resurfaced. I think it's called Vasily. And humans with gifted abilities are capable of changing the course of the country. Course of history, I should say. So it has the setting. It has the complete system, which they're claiming light and intuitive rules. Again, I haven't dived into enough of the rules because you usually have to get a lot of these books. Streamlined character creation, and guidelines for narrators, including examples of antagonists, and stories suitable for venturing into it. So they do have some story suggestions too. The art looks pretty cool. I'm gonna give you that.
Right. Now I remember why I kind of was thinking like Changeling is because their character sheet also has skills such as expression, empathy, academics, crafts, medicine.
Yeah. Yeah. You can get the quick start for free if you really wanted to try out their quick start rules and get an idea of what's going on there. So that's definitely an advantage.
Yeah, the PDF. If you want the full PDF, it's $20.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, that's not a terrible price either overall. And again, because it's the day where a lot of people offer things like free quick starts that you can check out and get an idea of what you're going to have ahead of time. That's a very good one. Now,
and I'm giving them a little bit of grief, but it's just kind of like things steal from things. If you try not to steal from things, you end up having skills like what did my friend like? My friend was trying to do my friend is making an RPG and he's like make skills like I'm trying to remember like one of them, like I don't remember. I'm trying
basket
to
weaving.
Basket weaving, of course. Now the thing is, it's a tri-stat system. You know, the attributes are social, intellectual, physical. And now, granted, there are also 3 virtues, but it's also.
I wonder where that was used before. Sorry.
Luck, will, courage. Well, I think for tri-stat system, that would be something like Bessem's a tri-stat system.
I'm continuing to say World of Darkness uses a tri-stat system. I'm giving them a lot of I'm giving them not tri-stat. They have tri-category, I guess.
Yeah.
They have 9 stats, 3 per category.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I mean, the thing is, yes, you're going to end up when you're creating a new game like this, you're going to end up, borrowing from other places. But it's a matter of can you make it your own when you do that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's I've never seen a thing that doesn't steal somewhat from D&D, it's
accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, can you think of a game that doesn't say strength, dexterity? This one actually.
I'm trying to see what kind of dice system it is.
That's a good one. The dice system.
Let's see. I'm looking at using the dice in the quick rolls.
Yeah, you check out that. I'll check out their just rules where they talk about it. Because again, there's that free quick start again. Well, I was just getting the free quick start now because
that's why I downloaded.
Oh, good.
Here we go.
Six-sided dice.
I looked at my friends.
They recommend to have
RPG.
at least 10.
I looked at my friend's RPG. He does things like inspection instead of like investigation. Inspection, artifice.
Yeah, I've tried that too, where you change the names of
provisioning
things because you're like, I just don't want to use the same names as everything else.
Yeah, and it's like fine, but it's just kind of funny, like how hard you have to work to find unique ways to say the same thing.
Yeah.
At that point, there's just like, why not steal?
Okay, the dice system pretty much does steal from White Wolf.
Oh no! If it's a
in
D6,
a way,
if it's a D6,
it's a D6 system,
it's
but
D6s.
the type
It's
of
Shadowrun.
rolls. Oh yeah, Shadowrun. You're right.
Shadowrun is D6s.
Yeah. Shadowrun is multi D6s, and if it's a multi D6 system, then it's exactly the same as Shadowrun.
Yeah, it's a Shadowrun type die system.
Okay. Which again, World of Darkness, Shadowrun.
6 or successes.
It's multiple dice system is basically more what I would call it.
Yeah, a multi-dice system based on D6s. Which I mean, again, it's a simplistic system, and it's not a bad system on the base level. It's just things like Shadowrun add a lot of layers to it to make it complex.
Yeah.
Um,
Shadowrun complex? Never.
I don't know what you're talking about. Let's open the quick start rules just so if I can check it a little bit too. But no, I like the sheet. Seems simple, one page, and it seems to have everything you kind of need on it, which is usually good. You want that kind of a little bit of simplicity. The quick start's 54 pages, so you're getting a chunk of stuff. It's got a lot of the same art that the full book is going to have. Again, a good one. It gives you some basic information, tells you about all the stats, all these different things.
They have a combat round system that is 4 different things. It's declaration phase, maneuver phase, engagement phase, and resolution phase. Bless you.
Excuse me.
The declaration is something that is like a much older RPG system has, which I'm not against it, but it's always like I never really used it even in the older times of like, this is what I'm going to do. Then can I actually do it or not? I mean, granted, some systems actually like penalize you for doing that or not doing it, but still. Hi, Cat.
I don't mind it all that much. I actually kind of like the concept of it.
Well, again, same with me. It's just remembering to do it and not bogging down a little bit of things sometimes.
Well, that's kind of the thing with like D&D 2nd edition, where it's like you roll initiative every round, and that initiative is what you're going to attack with. So it's like you just roll your initiative, knowing.
Yes, and then sometimes they throw like things into problems. So it's like I declare my initiative, I declare what I'm doing, and then everybody else declares what they're doing. But we declare that in reverse of lowest initiative to highest initiative, because I can react at the higher initiative. But then I technically go first, and everybody else has to react to me. So it can get down to it that you lose your action because you didn't declare something that you could boom, brain explosion.
Yeah, well, you have to keep it simple, and I didn't download the thing, so I don't know how they keep it, but
and there's
it has to be like I'm taking an action with my longsword. Okay.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, you can either deflect, attack or whatever, but you have to, it's like you.
Okay, here's a combat example they have. Declaration phase. Mark, my character Karen is suffering from the wound he received in the past struggle, so I'd like to activate my regeneration. Blah 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 blah. Lily, I'll draw my dagger and use telekinesis attack with one of the daggers. So you're basically saying what you're going to be doing that entire round.
Mm-hmm. Granted, if you keep it simple and you don't restrict a declaration phase, it's not a problem. Like, don't penalize people for if you can't do your action completely, maybe a little bit of a penalty, but if they can adapt it, like, I'm using my telekinesis dagger. Well, on who? You're not actually declaring who you're targeting, you're just using that. That I like a little bit better than, like, some of the classic ways, and so they've improved that kind of way of doing things significantly since the old days.
And, that's the other thing, too, is, like, if you're going to say like, okay, well, if you switch targets, and it's like it's okay if like as long as they allow you to switch targets, I'm kind of okay with it because it's like, yeah, you can switch targets, but that means you now go last in initiative because you're kind of having to change up your actions, you know. It's like that kind of thing I'm more okay with too.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you get a penalty to the roll or something.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this is an interesting system because they are trying to keep it a little simple. And fantasy systems that are simple, I mean, I would definitely test it out. Yeah. They have the quick start rules, including a small adventure and some pre-made characters, or they do have enough rules you could make some of your own. So if you're interested in checking it out, check out the quick start rules, and you can always get the full PDF if you're interested for $20. I do think they have a hardcover version too.
Yes, they do. It's for $50.
Yeah, and
They must use abstract wealth like in World of Darkness, because I do not see a number like 1,000 gold fitting into that box.
They very well might. And
right now you can get the PDF and the hardcover for $50 as well.
Yes, if you get the hardcover, you get the PDF for free rather than pay the extra $20 for it. So
that's how a lot of things do it.
Yeah, it's a good deal. It's like people expect you to want the one, so getting another might be good. Anyway, all right. So Awaken is because I'm calling it the correct thing right now.
Yes.
Awaken is out now. You can check it out. It was a former Kickstarter game that was successfully kickstarted and successfully released. All right, I want to talk about Game of Thrones Catan because, well, I for one, truthfully speaking, have not watched a lot of Game of Thrones. I never dove into it as a lot of other people. I didn't think it was a bad kind of thing. It just, for whatever reason, didn't spark my interest a lot of it. Maybe later seasons would have, but by the time they kind of lost me on the early seasons.
I watched the first season and it was just too much political intrigue for me.
I can understand that. The political intrigue, it's a hit or miss sometimes. If it's a focus of that. But anyway, granted,
I just don't have whatever HBO, right?
HBO.
Yeah, HBO.
Yeah, I just don't have HBO, so.
So we are coming at this from an angle of people that know very little about it. I know a little bit because, again, my mom watched it also. Sometimes I would be hanging around and she'd be watching it.
I have friends who talk about it all the time, so I know a little bit about it too.
Yeah,
I have coworkers who watch it, so.
So see, we've picked up on stuff because you can never get away from it. But this is taking Game of Thrones and combining it with Settlers of Catan. Setup is it's the Northern Wall, and you're taking on a lord with a settlement and a couple of roads at the Northern Wall, and you're attempting to defend the wall while being kind of taking over all, becoming the true commander out of all of them, to rise up and be the Lord Commander of all of them. So, I guess it's definitely combining the setting of Settlers of Catan. I don't know how much it's combining the actual subject material, but it sounds like because it's resource gathering, roads and settlements, it's definitely Catan a little bit too. It might be a little Knights and Cities, with one of the expansions, if you're not familiar with that, for those of you out there that might be familiar with Settlers.
I have that expansion.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that would make sense because then you have random attacks from things.
And it might be just an attack on the Northern Wall or something, trying to keep it going.
Yeah.
I see. So there's because there's there's the board, which is shaped a little bit differently than the normal board. That's interesting. And I'm looking at a picture of the setup. And there's there are these things outside the wall that are look like they do something with these tokens or something that they've placed there in this wall with the board. So there's definitely some sort of probably, cities and knights element where it's something attacks or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. You gain resources like any other settler. You spend them to get stuff like any other settler. You deal with wildlings, I guess it is, from beyond the wall. They say here.
Defend the realm from wildling raiders.
You do have to worry about, like, I guess, a robber or something with a 7. You collect resources. You do a lot of, like, I guess, building stuff and getting cards. Like
it wouldn't be Catan without a robber. Come on.
Yeah.
They have their own versions of development cards and special cards, which you have hero cards at the beginning of the game, which gives you a special ability. So that's kind of an interesting one. And it looks as if there's like... So you have your normal settlers, you have development cards, you have building your kind of settlements, you have your hero, which gives you a special ability, but then you also have to deal with what's going on beyond the northern wall, so it's a new element to it, which is introducing a little bit of the Game of Thrones element to it. So definitely, if you're a fan of Catan, it might be an interesting, different way of playing it. Like, I remember I've tried Star Trek Catan, and that's a really interesting, different way of doing it. And if you're a fan of Game of Thrones, this might be cool for you, especially if you want to get into a board game. So there is good reason behind it, and it's Fantasy Flight, and they do a pretty good job on these things. So
yeah,
I can't fault them for doing it. You know, it's definitely a different take on a lot of things. Combining it, you know, taking something simple like Settlers and, you know, overlaying it well with Game of Thrones. Again, haven't played it, so I can't say that they have overlaid it perfectly, but maybe they've done a decent job.
Yeah. I mean, it got on Board Game Geek, it got a 6.8 out of 10, so...
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Mm-hmm. And you can get it now if you're really interested in trying it out. Trying out a little something different.
Yeah, you've got a lot of 9, 8, 7s, and 6s with that disproportionate amount of 1s that always end up happening on the games.
There's always some people that are like, nah, I hate it. Hate it.
Yep.
Hate it now. So you can order it from Fantasy Flight now, which they actually had a demo of it at Gen Con. Or you can... It should be coming out to local retailers around now also. Whether it is or not, you know, it depends on your retailer. All right. So there's one other thing from Fantasy Flight I did want to talk about that came out this week. Legacy of Dragonholt, which on the surface seems pretty simple, I got to say. It's a narrative cooperative game. And that's the easiest way to say it. Because it's sort of a role-playing game, but it's not quite a role-playing game. And it's sort of a board game, but it's not quite a board game. It's weirdly in between. So they have 6 quests with it. You can build your own characters, sort of, for this. Becoming a hero with their own character creation system. You kind of follow these quests, and it's like a role-playing game system, but more card and stuff based. It's really kind of unusual. That's the best way I can say it. Like, I look at this here, and I'm like, what kind of game is it actually? Because it's 1 to 6 players, may we note here. Meaning it's not something you need, like, a DM for.
Mm-hmm.
It's you can play against the game itself.
1 player? Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It just occurred to me.
Yeah, I don't think there's like a dungeon master. I think it's you play against the book and the, you know, adventure that they're providing. And it provides all the information you need, and then it's just a narrative kind of thing that maybe you can work out with each other.
Well, that begs the question brought up in the past. If it is kind of this thing, what random element is there? Because if you're just doing a story...
Yeah. I'm just not sure. It's a unique role-playing game without the need of a game master, they say. That's what they say.
Right.
I don't know exactly how they're doing it. And that's a really good question about it. So, again, like, you can play through them like a lot of these games where you can have a progression system. You start at one of them, you can progress through the other one. There's missions, quest books, sidebars, things that make it easy to learn the rules, all this kind of stuff. A quick glossary of information, things like that. But you take on like a class and a race, and like much of them build a hero, and you investigate clues, gain potions, encounter colorful characters, gain fame and fortune. And that's one of the questions: is how do you do a lot of these things?
Right.
I'm trying to go through the rule book here, just to get a little bit of information. So you create your heroes, prepare the story tracker, begin the first quest. You decide, working with the group, active players is the player which made the decision most recently. There are days in the village there, affects encounters. There's entry, which is short text, depending on something. If you're playing alone, you make all decisions. However, if you're playing with 2 or more players, each turn take turns making decisions.
It says, someone's saying it's kind of like, it feels kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure game.
Okay. That might be where a lot of the random chance comes in, that it's a choose-your-own-adventure game. Really?
Yeah. Not sure. I mean, there probably is some amount of randomness as well, which is probably why it can change from time to time.
Yeah. And each character has their own kind of skills and stuff. Classes. Thief, Wildlander. Describe yourself. I'm just trying to look through this stuff here and see if I can pick up some more information about it, about how these things so you do a total of 5 to 8 skills. Combat, physical, mental, social, utility, and then you're just ready for an adventure. And skills can, I guess, be disabled. So it's all about the skills that you can use. Huh.
Yeah, it says branch. It says there are a lot of branching storylines. According to I'm reading some reviews on Board Game Geek, and it's like someone's saying that there's a lot of branching paths. So it's kind of there is apparently a lot to do, I guess. So, but it does, if that is the case, though, it does sound like it probably is exhaustive. Mm-hmm. Which worries me a little bit, because it could be like, oh yeah, well, we've done all the different scenarios. Oh, I remember this happened before, Feels like that. It's I hope that there is something like a what is it? Because it doesn't bother me that this kind of thing exists, as long as it's more like Betrayal at House on the Hill, where even if you know the scenarios, it's still as fun to play.
Right.
And maybe because there's a little choose your own adventure, the only thing I can say is perhaps choosing one path will alter the adventure enough to make it its own unique thing and make you want to try it again. Yep. That's my question, is that enough? And I guess you'd have to test it out and play through a scenario twice to see if that's accurate.
Yeah. And so it seems like and as long as you do roll dice somewhere, I'm not actually even sure if you do. I don't see it. Oh, yeah, but
I don't even. It's decision making, effects, active tokens. I'm trying to read through these things here, and I don't know if there's any. There's items you can use, which give you stuff. I don't know if there's dice.
Cards and stuff, but I don't see dice either.
Yeah. So. What this kind of reminds me of a little bit is, have you heard of the game Long Live the Queen? It's a game on Steam. It's like an indie game where it's basically a choose your own adventure where you basically are in charge of this queen and trying to have her not die gruesomely, and there's only but it's basically if you play the game the exact same way, you will get the exact same ending. However, the thing is there are so many ways to go about playing the game that you can effectively try it forever and still not win. if you just choose randomly.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me a little bit of another narrative game that's more of a role-playing game. But that one, though, they open it up a little bit more for the players to work together for it. Fiasco. Because there is dice rolling, but theoretically in Fiasco, you could have something replace the dice, if you wanted to build a system completely different to it, like some kind of cards or something that would work exactly the same as it. It's easy it's easy enough to think that you could do that, which it's a possibility. And that is very narrative driven, with everyone taking on roles, though, is needed. So I think that's a difference. Would you have, because this is a more player games, would you have that at this point in time? I don't know. Maybe certain adventures are made for more than one player, others are meant for just one. That's my question. Right. I think unless we unfortunately get it, we couldn't.
Yeah, this sounds like a game that's going to be really, because there's just not a lot of information on it.
Yeah. Even reading through the rule book, it's helpful for like some basic learning, but it's like, we need to see one of the adventures to know how you really work, Yeah. It's like, there's some 6 quests, take them. Okay, here's how you build a character. Simple enough. Great, I know how to do that. Is there any kind of, you don't talk about any kind of tests. You talk about days, which are important, I guess, to keep track of. You have like X days, so you have to make choices depending on how many days you have. That's very time stories. Which, again, time stories, unfortunately, is super narrative driven, so you really can't take it. But because decision points are pretty big, like, it's like knock on the door, break down the door, pick a lock and sneak inside. That's 3 different decisions you can make when you're approaching a door, and each of them has a different outcome. And it seems like you have a certain requirement to do each of those things. So that's a very interesting kind of thing that they do with that I think makes definitely a very big difference.
Yeah.
And I guess you mark story points as you do things, which can, I guess, have effects later on. I don't know.
Yeah, so it seems like it's like
interesting,
you could,
but beyond interesting, is it good? That I'm not sure.
I mean, it's hard to say. Like from what the reviews give it a 7.8, which is pretty high, but at the same time, you kind of go, well, it may not be for everyone, but it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah. I mean, if maybe the interactions between the people acting as their players might add a different level to it. So if you've got a bunch of people that are good at role-playing, maybe this will be fun to play with. Because you can all take on the roles of your characters and try to, like, discuss things in-game. Like, yeah, maybe one player gets to make the decision at the time. Why don't you discuss it between your people? It's sort of like, well, I could pick that lock, it's like, well, I could bash down the door, and then you discuss the merits of it and add a little bit of character to your characters, maybe, and that might be more enjoyable. I don't know if it would be enjoyable without that or not, either. But
it'd probably be I don't know.
It might be fun without it, but I think that would definitely add to a level of it if you got a bunch of people that are good at role-playing, so. Yeah. Legacy of Dragonholt is available now. It's interesting. If you want to check it out, we can say that much at least. It's $60, which is not the cheapest, but it seems like a lot of like booklets and information. So I don't know if I would call it 100% worth the price, but
it depends on how replayable it's going to be.
That's the question, and we haven't found information to help you with that. So sorry, folks. It's been out too small. We haven't found people that have actually, played it. And this is an unusual one enough that I don't think there will be a lot of stores play testing it, Especially if they worry about replayability. And if it has some, but not a huge amount of it, like, granted, like, if we could play the 2 new roads more than once, and just the nature of certain decisions might change the adventure greatly, cool. But if it spoils a lot still, that might be a difference. It's sort of like, it's like time stories is replayable in and of itself, which I think helps a little bit because you might play through the adventure more than once in the course of your time stories game.
Right. And also, the better you get at it, the rewards go into the next scenario.
Yeah, which can make a difference. But otherwise, I don't know. All right, but it is out now, available if you want to check it out and get it for yourself. Might be a good one. All right, why don't we move into our next segment, of course, which is our Kickstarter Corner. All right, do either of you want to start it out, or, I mean, you can volunteer or not?
I'll go.
Okay.
So I'm looking at a game called Or, and I'm
Or?
Yeah. Here we go. So it's like basically it's a would you rather game. It's basically, you know, going off the same styles like Cards Against Humanity and, you know, those kind of things with a would you rather style thing. And so you draw 2 cards and it's would you rather do this or this? It's that simple.
Yeah.
But it's pretty amusing, you know? I mean, it's a little bit on the adult side. You know, such as
wow.
Yeah, like one of them is would you rather have a penis too large to do anything with, or speak only in sarcastic voices forever? Mm-hmm. You know, it's like drink a gallon of hot sauce in one go, or never eat tacos again.
Ooh.
Honestly, the thing about drinking a gallon of hot sauce is that it's not physically possible.
If you could drink a gallon of milk, you probably can. It's just probably going to be terrible.
Well, no, if you drink, you can't. You actually physically can't drink a gallon of milk, which is why I don't think you could physically drink a gallon of hot sauce.
I've seen someone actually drink a gallon of milk.
But they throw up. They always throw up.
No, someone didn't throw up. Well, they have
a stomach that big.
We knew someone.
No, it's because your stomach is not physically, you know, a gallon, so you can't.
Yeah, we knew someone who had a big enough stomach to do it. You need a big enough stomach to do it.
That
takes training.
Okay. It takes training. It does.
Yeah.
It's like those hot dog eating contest people. They can have
they keep training so they can hold more in their stomach.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Your average person can't.
No, God, your average person cannot.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's just kind of a fun game, you know. Would you rather hate everyone named Kate or live as a peasant in the Middle Ages?
No, the worst one. Actually acknowledge your adult responsibilities.
Or be so fat you have to be craned out of your house.
I actually really like one of the cards, which is not. So it's like, would you rather have this or not? Which some may be easy choices with that one, but you know, there's kind of this point. Let's see. I'm not actually entirely sure where that. I'm trying to find one. Where that would actually be really nice. Or that would actually be a harder choice.
Ooh, have no eyes or have no ears.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, even if you don't have ears, do you still have the holes?
I mean,
because then you could still hear. It just wouldn't be very good hearing.
I have some. Like, is the duck you're ripping in half alive or not?
Yeah.
Because it's like if it's a living duck, it's probably going to be like struggling while you're trying to tear it apart. You know,
it's a zombie duck.
Well, then you just have to worry about getting the zombie virus from it. You know. That's an effective duck, and you should beat it to death first. I mean, it's that or be afraid of trees. This is definitely an interesting... It's an interesting enough game that it's like a party game that seems pretty fun.
Yeah, it's in the vein of Cards Against Humanity, which is always fun.
Yes.
Yep.
And a little variation on that formula isn't a bad thing.
Oh, God. Yeah. Have your search history sent to your mother-in-law.
Ooh. Uh-huh. So, okay.
Yeah, so if you want to, there's the link if you in chat if you want to go and support it.
Yeah, it's got some days to go still, couple weeks.
Yep.
All right.
2 weeks, just under.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Joe.
I am doing Core Space.
Yeah, this was an interesting one. I don't normally go for miniatures games, but this one looks very different in the way they put it, and
yeah,
I like it.
I watched a bit of a video of how the rounds go and stuff, and it is different. I think it's different than most miniature games. You have a lot of variants with card draw to find out. You have card draw that see what enemies might pop up, and then you have to roll dice to see how many of those enemies pop up. It seems really interesting. The mat that it comes with for the basic floor layout is cool, and you actually have to build the surroundings, so it's a 3D game.
Yeah, I like those little walls you build for it. That's definitely really cool how you can set those up.
You have to worry about, can I shoot through that space? No, there's
that is
there.
Cool.
Yeah.
I just didn't scroll down that far yet.
And the miniatures are really nicely done. The building pieces look really well done.
I think this is as much as definitely I am not usually into a lot of the miniatures types games like Warhammer. This is interesting enough to definitely be like, ooh.
Neither am I, but this one really did catch my eye because this one has a lot of different things to it. It's not just it's a miniatures game. There's a lot more heft to it, in my opinion. So it looks really something interesting. Definitely not a game you take to a diner.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah. We tried D&D miniatures at a diner, the actual game. That.
Yeah, no.
we were young, we were insane. You
didn't come back with all the pieces?
Who knows? I do like the fact that it's a 1 to 6 player game because you can play missions or campaigns, and you can play it as a group or not. I'm interested to see if there's competitive versions that you could play, or if it's just you all work together as one squad doing a little skirmish together.
I'm sure you could do some kind of competitive scenario. I don't know if they have it built in for that, but I'm sure you could even mod your own rules to do something like that.
Yeah. And they do provide some of the background for one of their storylines.
Yeah, and some of the add-ons, oh my god, multi-tier levels.
God. Yup.
Add-on D, the Galactic Terrain. It has, 1, 2, 3 stories?
Jesus.
Oh gosh. Oh wow. Yeah. It's pretty great. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. They have some crazy crap here. It's kind of interesting. It's really interesting.
It looks like something you could easily get really drawn into. Now it is a little bit expensive as a Kickstarter because it's also a British one, so everything's in pounds.
And it's all cardboard and stuff that you set up too. That's the thing. Also, you have to think about.
Yeah, no, I mean you're getting what you're paying for, but I'm just saying it is expensive. It is on a more expensive side. The full box early bird one is £78, which I'm trying to see what that converts to in dollars.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm going to double check.
It's approximately
105.
Yeah, but for what you're getting, it's not bad.
Because their goal was 70.
Google search it and it pops right up.
Yeah,
their goal was £70,000, which was 94,000 American dollars. So there's a little bit more American dollars, but it's not a huge amount more. It's 30% more price about. Yeah, something like that.
I mean, for the Titan pledge that you get everything, that's about $161.
Yes, 162.
But you get the Cyberpunk Terrain expansion, Outbreak mission add-on, Zed's mission add-on, Titan Accord mission log. So you're getting a lot for that amount of money, and just the amount of stuff to build easily makes up for that price, and the miniature quality that they have, and the specialty dice.
Plus, you get to build it, which only adds to the fun.
Oh yeah.
I mean, granted,
sometimes
they're
Depends on who
the
you
gray
are.
miniatures. You can always paint them because people like painting these things. But if you're not
the
good
gray
at,
miniatures seem to be only for. Oh no, I guess yeah, they are all.
you do
Okay.
yeah, they're not painted, unfortunately, but it's a miniatures game. They like having people be able to paint them into their custom colors if you want to paint them. If you're not good at that, you can live with the standard colors most of the time. They're still pretty detailed if you actually look at how they look when
still
painted.
very detailed even without paint, but
Yeah.
the paint definitely would make them pop.
So if you have a friend that's really good at painting miniatures, that might be a good person to get to help you out there. Just saying. Well, there's another one that has 2 weeks to go, so you got some time to pledge to it, and it's in its stretch goals.
Yeah, it's already funded. It's just trying to get stretch goals now.
Which
which is great.
Yeah.
Let's see, it's at 1,000. Oh, it's at 1,035. But what's that?
It's at the 100,000
pledge. 428 pounds pledge. Or am I looking wrong?
It's got the 100,000 pound
stretch goal.
Stretch goal. It just hit.
Oh, nice.
Which was crate tables and bunk. But the next one that they are approaching is consoles, workstations, lockers, and then the other one that they have is Captain Telek. I guess another character, which unlocks. I don't know when it unlocks. They don't.
Yeah, they don't have the actual. Oh, yeah, it does. 106K.
Okay.
103K will be the consoles, workstations, and locker.
I think they might hit the 106.
They might hit the 106, yeah, and then have everything fully unlocked.
And they just might need more then, because they've already unlocked a lot of stuff with this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And it looks like you could add on some extra terrains too, if you wanted to, because they add the cyberpunk on for the big one, but they have a bunch of other add-on terrains you could get along with this. What is it? Frontier, Galactic Terrain, Outlands, Gothic Crawler. So you definitely could add on a lot of different stuff to your... You could spend a crap load to build this up, truthfully speaking.
Yeah.
Very easily for a very...
I mean, and the Titan pledge for 160 is not bad considering the size of what you get.
Yeah. And again, there's still add-ons beyond that would be add-ons, but still.
Yeah. I mean, this one looks really interesting. If I had the money, I totally would go for it, but with Christmas, I'm kind of tapped out.
Yeah. I don't think I have the money for it either. It'd be nice. But anyway, all right. Why don't
Money, what's that?
Yeah, money. What's that? Okay, there was a bunch of good Kickstarters this week, unfortunately, so it made another week that was hard for me to decide. I do want to just say that there were a couple of interesting looking things out there that were different enough to draw me in. I'll just mention a few of them. Fields of Valeria was interesting because it was a little bit of collectible card game meets a MOBA, which that's interesting to me. I haven't really played MOBAs, but it's a different take on a sort of CCG.
Mm-hmm.
The Battle of Krusk seemed cool because it's tank battle game. Neat. Master Suites. The Kickstarter that Ollie should probably be backing. Isn't he a fan of those like British baking show or something? I don't know.
Oh yeah, I was just talking about the other day. He liked actually I think he said he liked American cooking shows.
Oh jeez.
Ooh.
But there's four
He said they're over the top and interesting.
Yeah.
And entertaining.
So it's a Convectioner-based board game with 4 variations that you can play with multiple players. But the one that I wanted to focus on today was Flash Gordon, the RPG for Savage World. Sorry.
Master of the universe.
So you only have 2 days to go if you want to get in on Flash Gordon. It is funded by, like... It's exceeded 4... It's almost reached 6 times its original asking price to fund it. Okay?
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know Flash Gordon was still that popular.
Well, it depends on what version we're talking about, because they've had a lot of versions of Flash Gordon. I've only really seen the 80s movie with the Queen soundtrack, but I knew there was a series on Sci-Fi for a little while in the 90s or early 2000s, and then there was original material.
I was going to say, I thank the movie Ted for bringing it back to popularity.
That might be it. It is. Good fan of Flash Gordon. So anyway, yeah, you can get the core book, which is Savage Worlds is the system that they're using, and they are providing a basic book where they have all the character creation and world building kind of statistics when it comes to a Flash Gordon world. But they also, like, the 2 books they have is a Kingdoms of Mongo book, so it's all about the actual, like, world setting of Flash Gordon, which it's definitely interesting. And apparently they have a foreword by the guy who I think played Flash Gordon in the 80s. Because why not?
I can't think of his name.
Samuel Jones or Sam Jones?
Is that it? I guess that was it.
Let me check that. That's actually it. Because I'm bad with remembering these things. Yeah, he took the tentacle role of Flash Gordon in the Cult Tactic.
Yep. Sam J. Jones.
And apparently he was in Ted.
Yes, he was, because they had Flash Gordon in Ted. They met him.
Ah, see? But he's got a foreword in this one, because reasons. But anyway, so it does introduce a couple of interesting systems that I want to talk about. It's got, like, cliffhanger tokens that players can get to, like, create, like, dramatic tension and stuff, you know? So each session, players are given cliffhanger token. So you guys can create a cliffhanger, you know, which I thought was very interesting. They actually have, like, GM cards to help decide things, which are always good. You know, those are interesting things to have. Like, Pathfinder does a bunch of those little cards where you can draw out, like, critical and fumble cards and things like that.
Right.
Conviction chips. Of course, it's got, like, boxed sets that you can get versions of, depending on what you're pledging. It is using Savage Worlds, of course. Important thing. They've hit.
By the way, those conviction chips, they're just a giant bag of, like, high-calorie chips that you'll feel, like, bad about eating.
Gosh.
You're welcome.
You amuse Mongo.
They've got, like, combat charts that have came out with the stretch goals, character folio, archetypes, minis, threat cards, a map of Mongo, cliffhanger supplement, printable cliffhanger cards, bookmarks, figure flats, is the one that they're at now, because that was the 80,000. And they're approaching, they have 2 more. Combat charts and archetypes and propaganda prints just for heck. You know, it's just like, I think the propaganda one is just like, hey, you want something cool and kind of Flash Garden-y? Here you go. You got everything else, guys. You got everything else. But no, I mean, it is a lot of stuff. You can definitely pledge a bunch and get things. They have the what is it, 75 is the metal, is just the minis, or 100 you get the 2 books, the Game Master screen. Oh yeah, it's the 175 for, like, everything. Or I think they have a 500 for... I don't know what the 500 does for you. Something stupid. Oh, something like you meet them at Gen Con 2018 and play with them, I guess, or something.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. You have to get to Gen Con yourself, but if you wanted to...
but if you're spending $500 on a Kickstarter, you probably can.
You probably were already going to Gen Con anyway, and now you can, like, you get, like...
Play the game with the designers.
Well, it's like, what? You get, dinner special invite-only game. Oh, you're gonna be playing with Scott! You'll be playing with, whoever Scott is. I think one of the creators.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me just check here. I'm just curious if this 500 one. Oh, by one of the authors. Yeah. So, yeah. You have dinner and get to play a game with him at Gen Con.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. And they've only got rid of 1 of 10 of those, so you can still get the $500 one if you want. No, I mean, if you like some classic sci-fi pulp, or if you did like the 80s movie, maybe this is for you to check out. Savage Worlds is a pretty decent RPG system. I haven't had as much encounter with it as I would like, but it definitely is not a bad system to put it into, and they provide a lot of material for it for you to check out. So,
just if you want that $500 one, go for it soon, because it may be gone in a flash.
All right. Why don't we move on to this week in gaming, or to our week in gaming? All right. I think we started with Joe for the Kickstarter. No, we started with.
We started with me for the Kickstarter.
So why don't we start with Joe for this week in gaming? Sure.
Well, we didn't do a lot this week, but we did do. We played Dragonfire.
We did play Dragonfire.
We just did the base rules, so didn't get into any of the role-playing kind of aspect that I think may be involved in the more advanced rules.
We did the quick start gameplay, which is just testing it out, which was a lot of skirmishy battles.
Matt and I died horribly.
I was willing to die in order to win.
Yes,
at least one of us had to survive.
As a team.
It's one person had to live an onslaught of waves of enemies, and
oh my God, so many enemies, so ridiculous amount of enemies.
So I predicted my death turns earlier, and I was like, I'm just keeping one of these other people alive. There's no way I'm winning.
Yeah,
living.
It's brutal, to say the least.
So it does look like the combat can turn on you very quickly. But again, our question would be, how does that necessarily link up to more advanced rules, and how does that... the entire setup with the quick start, which does teach you the rules, it does make me worry that maybe the combat is too much. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but also with the quick start, we didn't get any of the magic items and stuff too, which might make the combat a lot more tolerable.
True that.
We also tried Betrayal at Baldur's Gate and lost horribly.
Yeah. We got to there was like a fire in the city, and we were supposed to rescue X number of people, but the fire
pretty much burned the city down
in 2 turns. When it should take it's you roll a dice to see if something's on fire, and it's a 1 in 3 chance that something gets on fire. By the second turn, there was 2 tiles left not on fire,
and all the people were burned.
Everyone died by the second turn, because also you have to make might rolls to pick everyone up. But we were all fairly terrible at might.
Well, I was a wizard, and I had already been damaged beyond belief. Yes. Many people have told me I look like Penn Jillette.
Also, I can't remember his name now. From A Blues Traveler, was it?
God, I just was talking about that the other week. The lead singer. Yeah. I can't think of his name now. But yes. And apparently he lived in Quakertown at one point, which is not far from us.
John Popper.
Yes, John Popper.
Yep. Yep. John
Although I think my resemblance to Penn Jillette looks a lot more than John Popper.
I don't know what you're
a
talking
younger
about.
Penn Jillette because he's lost a lot of weight.
But yeah, so Betrayal was fun, but we got brutalized really badly. And
I got my butt ripped out
twice
in the beginning of the game because I got beat up by thieves.
And like the thieves were supposed to roll like 4 dice against your like 2, and he rolled like 1 on the pips for an attack, and the thieves rolled, what was it, 8 and
all
then 7.
All 2s, and then all 2s except for 1, which was a 1.
So he just got like, thank you for the follow.
If you could die early in the game, I would have. Twice.
It's showing up.
Yes, thank you for the follow.
You did a spook, but I don't see it show up on the screen, so whatever. I'll have to work on that. Maybe Nightbox working up a little... Oh, not working, but yeah, so, no, it was fun. Terrible, but fun, in a way.
How things go sometimes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Accurate. Did we do anything else gaming-wise since we last...
I did not.
I did... your game.
Yeah, I was like...
Yeah, sorry. Well, normally I'm thinking about, did I run anything first was my thoughts. And I'm like, no, I didn't run anything. Oh, wait, I was a player this week, actually. Yay! Where I almost died because of 2 critical fumbles, and then got the critical, like, save in order to rebound myself. And so I didn't die. Hurrah! Even though I was, 1 death save in that I'd failed?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. That was fun. And actually it was better that our spellcaster dropped me, because that way I didn't get absorbed by the gibbering mouthers. Because if they dropped me in their bite attack, I would have been absorbed.
Ugh.
I know.
Oh yeah.
So it's actually better she thunder waved me and got me.
It's actually not completely false. Actually.
Kill me.
It's quick. Kill me. I'm unconscious. I'm like at 1, and this thing's about to devour my soul.
Let it devour
and
soul.
then the G-Man, this is Tabaxi not succeeding once. I kind of feel like I kind of should have given Tib the kill, but at the same time, I was okay with the pity kill as well.
Yeah, it's the will save every round to act normally, and we were failing them left and right when it was like DC 11.
Yeah.
So it might have been 12. I don't know. It was really low.
It was DC. Okay, I actually realized later it's DC 10, but for whatever reason I was thinking you have to beat it.
Oh.
So you probably should have gotten a couple extra saves, but whatever.
But still, it was low, and we were failing. No, the Tabaxi, I think, like, failed a lot. A lot.
I think he failed, like, all but, like, 2.
He kept getting 3s and, like, he kept getting, like, 6s and 7s on his saves. It was, like, certifiably terrible. We were rolling really bad that day.
Oh my gosh. So, and I learned a valuable lesson in difficulty.
It's not always as apparent as it seems. Oh yeah, I learned that long ago. That sometimes an encounter looks like it will be this CR, but it turns out to be way different.
Mm-hmm.
Mechanically and appropriate and actual display of it are 2 different things.
Yeah. Well, even the mechanic said it would be difficult, but I just thought, because, like, I'm like, they could probably handle something a little difficult. But when it came down to it, it was kind of like, actually, because it's the monsters themselves made it very difficult. Because while they had very, very little AC, they didn't have a great chance to hit. Their save to avoid their gibbering was super low. They had a decent number of hit points, and they hit like a truck.
Yeah, they did like 4d6 or 6d6 or something.
5d6, and I reduced it on the fly because I realized that was actually kind of insane for 3rd level players. Because literally, the average basically one-shot like 2 of you.
Yeah.
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 So my bad, my B.
It's fine. It's fine. We survived, and I got to be completely jerk, except to that Dragonborn.
Yeah, it didn't help you that you guys rolled absolute garbage, but you know.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things we were rolling absolute garbage. But I like playing tools just because it's fun to be like the incidental jerk. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I just kind of am.
Yeah.
I insult everyone just because I'm like, you are a cat man, yes? I still love my line of like, I just thought you were really hairy.
God. That'll be. I'm still trying to figure out who's gonna be the one who derails things, you or Tiv.
I could easily do it because I keep my character would keep opening her mouth when she shouldn't, and she keeps opening her mouth.
But I feel like Tiv has the potential to like kill someone when he shouldn't.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I like Tiv's character. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with him. He's just. Everybody's like, he's got multiple personalities. He goes into a psychotic killing spree when he goes all crazy. And I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how that game goes.
Oh god, it looks like it's gonna go fun.
Yes.
I think that's all I did tabletop-wise this week. Wyrm, did you do anything different?
So I did run a game, Curse of Strahd, with my friends. We had the Strahd, or wait, was that last week that we had? No. Did I cancel this week? No, we did, was the Strahd, I can't remember if last week I talked about the Strahd fight was gonna happen or if it had happened, but either way, we did a Strahd fight. They survived. One of them went down. I think I already said this. I think I said this last week. Anyway, but yeah.
All right.
I don't remember. But
fine.
Yeah.
Memory.
That happened.
It serves us well.
I had another game. That one wasn't super eventful though, as that's actually the game I'm in with Mads, regular player on my game. Those happen on Thursdays. That one was interesting. Kind of got put on a quest. I gotta finally use my thieves' cant.
Okay.
Because it's funny how hard it is to find places to use that as a rogue. Have you noticed? Because it's like
I have like kind of given up trying to figure out a place to really use the thieves' cant. I'm like, I've got it in case something comes up, but it's also like, it
doesn't come up often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's kind of But it was kind of like this guy had his stuff stolen by some ruffians, and we had to get it back. And so I dressed up all raggedy and went into the thieves there. It went into the kind of like the downtown bad area and kind of did some thieves' cant to figure out about who these guys might be.
Cool.
Neat.
So it was fun to use that. Yeah.
Cool. All right, I think we're pretty good today. Is there any questions from chat? We're going to go to our final segment, actually. Consult the Table, where you can ask us questions about any kind of role-playing, RPG-related thing, board games, card games, anything related to today. Any other questions you have that you might want answered that might help you out in the, our infinite wisdom we can share with you as a collective. We are the table.
The table is one with us.
Well, I was doing more of a Borg thing, but I guess that works too.
We have a lot of opinions.
We do.
Turn to the dark side of the table.
Anyway. All right. Doesn't look like chat has any questions for us today, and I can totally quickly check the Yahoo page to see if anybody emailed us as Discussing Tabletop at yahoo.com, which you can also contact with us if it would allow me to sign into that.
Or our Twitters.
Yes, I don't know. You guys would have seen if someone...
I have not seen anything. But I'm just saying, that is an option.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen anything either.
Well, Yahoo's being mean to me today, so I'm going to assume no one messaged us, which I probably should start checking ahead of time, but I keep forgetting to check ahead of time. It's like I remember a lot of other stuff, but I'm forgetful at a lot of things for when setting up everything.
Well, to be fair, it's kind of hard to remember when nothing ever happened.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a couple of messages, it would be like, oh yeah, I got to check to make sure another one shows up or not. When that first one shows up.
Message us.
Yes, message us. Message us, and remember, pets for Streamcat. Mare. Streamcat showed up and is now lying down on my bed. Streamcat's
Streamcat.
Streamcat. I'm gonna pick up Streamcat as we end today's show. I'm gonna torment Streamcat with Snuggles.
So I guess we are into final wrap up.
We are into final wrap up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I am Diamond Wyrm. You can find me at Diamond Wyrm on Twitter or twitch.tv/Diamond Wyrm, where I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturdays. Tonight we are finally doing the World of Darkness game again because it hasn't been canceled for once. That'll happen this evening at 4 PST, Pacific Time. Yeah, I just reached affiliate, so if you want to go over to my channel, you can follow and subscribe.
Yes.
Go Wyrm. It's your affiliate day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still waiting for my emotes, though. They're being reviewed.
Yep. Those can take weird amounts of time. Like two of mine got approved right away, and then one of them was sitting in like purgatory for a while, and I'm like, this is weird. And then finally it was like a week or something. So you never know what they're going to do. So you might get approved of them like really quickly. Might have to wait a little bit.
Yeah. We'll see.
I guess Joe.
I actually have something other than you did today.
Oh my God! It's an end of the universe.
Because I'm finally organizing my stuff. If anyone is interested in trying the role-playing game that I have created, set in 1930s, 40s Chicago mob rule style with aliens, vampires, and mole people, I am looking to try to start something online with that relatively soon because I want to be ready by next year for PAX Unplugged to try to play test it there, and I want to work out some more kinks. Mm-hmm. So tweet me if you are interested in doing that.
Mm-hmm. Doing a game?
Yeah.
Yes. It's a game that I started writing back in high school, or right after high school, and we played a bunch, and then I kind of let it sit, and I finally have gotten it to myself that I really would like to do something with it.
It's not a bad system. It just needs some tweaks. Like the system-wise does. The setting's pretty cool. The main thing that it still is my two-hit system I need to really tweak some more. Mm-hmm. Because I actually have a system in place that you can try to aim for certain areas of the body, as well as if you're just aiming generally at someone where the hits actually happen. So you could lose a hand or an arm or get shot in the chest. All have different effects. Yes, it's cool.
Yeah.
I'll try to work on that with you at some point. All right. And I myself am Cantan Dracovin. You can find me here pretty much every day of the week doing something. Whether it's this show, Gathering the Roll, the news portion, which is linked to this one, some role-playing games where I do D&D, various gaming streams, which I have a lot of. Of course, on Wednesdays, you'll find me over at Wyrm's channel. You can definitely subscribe here for any of my emotes or for connections to the subscriber area on my Discord, which is being fleshed out a little bit more. Yes, I do have a Discord linked below, which you can find out information about what's going on, along with my Twitter whenever I'm doing anything. Joe, you'll have to let me know if you want to what you want to do for your online thing, whether you want to like.
Yeah. I got to figure out how. I'm going to probably want to do a stream, hopefully on your channel.
If you want to use my channel, that's fine. I was going to ask you about that at some point in time. Just let me know, and I can figure out a time. I'll be willing to be a player. So I'll probably be back tomorrow the next time. I'm not sure. Probably in the evening for multiplayer games. That's usually what I do on Sunday evenings. I'll let everybody know if there's anything different going on or if there's anything extra being added on for stream-wise. I'm trying to come up with a new streaming schedule for next week. So I will probably put that out down below once I figure out. I've been bringing out some kinks. When I get that finished, I'll put the updated one. It's most of the same down below, but there's going to be a couple little updates to it and a couple extra things added in. If you want to, other than the subscribing, you can check out my YouTube channel where I have all the VODs, where I have a lot of information about, teaching information about various aspects of tabletop tabletop gaming, from CCGs to RPGs. And I always do have a Patreon, which someday someone will subscribe to and, help me get some extra things. But there are some great rewards there. There are some great rewards if anybody ever wants to check that out. So.
Oh yeah, I need to start setting that up now. My thing was going to do that once I hit affiliate. So
it's what they say.
Like I have a Patreon. It's just I don't have any rewards or anything interesting.
I have interesting things, but you're supposed to ask friends and family. If you get someone started, then it's easier for someone to join. It's hard to be the first person. The problem is it's hard to my friends. It's hard to get any one of them that would be willing to give any. Though I do have $1 pledge, so maybe I can convince someone I should go over to them. So someone could pledge $1 a month or something.
Yeah.
But family is going to be the difficult one. I might think about trying to explain what I do technically for, in quotations, a slight living nowadays. I mean, I don't do much else to earn money at this point in time, unfortunately, and I don't earn a lot. So, anyway, though, that's enough complaints about real life. Let's return to tabletop and say thank you all for joining here. We'll be back next week for more Discussing Tabletop, as usual, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which would be 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and everything in between. And if you're in some other part of the world, it will be appropriately affected by those two numbers. And hopefully you can still join us. By your time zone. But we'll be here, same time, same place, for more interesting and cool tabletop news to talk about. So thank you all for joining us, and we'll have a great rest of the weekend, and see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.